Looking for something polished yet easy to wear? This crochet vest pulls it off effortlessly. In today's tutorial, you'll learn the moss stitch while making this collared button-up vest, a layering piece that looks structured but feels relaxed. This stitch gives it that clean woven texture that works for everything from casual days to smart layering looks. If you're new here, welcome! I'm T, maker of 600 plus patterns and tutorials. I share them every Wednesday and Sunday. Hit subscribe so you never miss one. And if you enjoyed the video, give it a thumbs up or 2 thumbs down if you don't. Either way, it helps keep these tutorials free. Any category 4 yarn will work. I used a total of 255 grams. That's 460 yards if you're stateside. Pattern link below. Use code TCDDIY for a discount on orders over $9.99. Stay to the end for this week's giveaway. We're using 6 stitches for this vest. They're on screen now. Pause to check it out. This tutorial is for a size small. You can adjust it for your size, and we explain how to in the video. So without further ado, here's how to make your own moss stitch collared vest. Making this head-turning button-up collar top, we're working with the moss stitch. It's cozy with a tailored edge. Perfect for casual wear, and the best part, it comes together super fast. Starting with the front panel's neckline, we're creating that ideal curve that gives this design its flattering asymmetrical shape. We're all going to start by grabbing our category 4 yarn and make our slip knot. Now grab our 5mm hook and chain an even number. Start 1 inch below our neckline and chain down to your waist. Quick note, we will be adding a bottom band later, so this chain sits slightly shorter than the finished length. This chain marks the highest point of our top, setting the stage for that gorgeous asymmetrical curve. Now I made a chain 42. That's just about 10 inches or 25 centimeters. Since mine's already done, I'm just going to be doing a small sample size with you. We're starting with a single crochet row with increases on both ends. Start by blocking off that last chain and do a chain 3. That is our turning chain. Working into the back bumps of our chain, we're going to start with an increase, and that's going to be 2 double crochets, 2 half doubles into that 4th chain from our hook. So yarn over. Into that 4th chain from our hook, we're going to turn our chain over to find these back bumps. Insert your hook underneath that back bump and double crochet. And if you ever need a refresher on any of these basic stitches, we've got a step-by-step tutorial linked in the description for you. That's my first double, and we are doing an increase, so a second double crochet and 2 more half double crochets into that same first chain. So far for this row, we should have 4 stitches. Next up, single crocheting into every chain. Still working into the back bumps. Insert your hook into that next chain's back bump with a single. Into that next chain's back bump with another single. And continue until we all have 1 chain left. We're working into the back bumps here, and trust me, it's worth it. You get a crisp edge, solid structure, and button-ready foundation that holds up beautifully. It's one of those tiny little tweaks that makes your whole piece feel polished and professional. We've single crocheted into every back bump. Into that last chain, it's going to be an increase as well, but this increase is just going to be 1 half, 1 double into that last chain. Yarn over, into that last chain with 1 half double, into that same last chain with a double crochet. And since our row 1's complete, with all the increases we should have 4 more stitches than chains that we made. For each increase row, we're working tall stitches at the start and the end. This keeps the edges smooth as we build. These edge increases create that striking asymmetrical curve. This step might feel small, but it makes a big difference in achieving the quality look. Pop a stitch marker into the start of this row to remember that this is the bottom of the piece. Easy. Our next 2 rows are moss stitch rows. No increases, no decreases. Starting every moss stitch row, we're going to start with a chain 1. That's our turning chain. Then chain a second chain. That second chain will count as that first stitch for this row. Then flip our work. Skip that first stitch, single crochet into the second. That gives us the first 2 stitches for this row. That first is that chain space. It might be a little difficult to see, but make sure that you are counting that as a stitch, and that single crochet. Then chain 1, skip a stitch, single crochet into the next. Again, chain 1, skip a stitch, single crochet into the next. Then make your way down to the end of the row. Row 2 is now complete. The second moss stitch row will be done exactly the same way as the last one, starting with a chain 2. That first chain is our turning chain. That second chain counts as the first stitch for the next row and flip our work. We're always going to skip that first stitch, which is that single crochet from our previous row, and into that next chain space with another single crochet. Again, that gives us the first 2 stitches for this row, which is that chain space. It may collapse in on itself, but it is there, and a single crochet. And just like the last row, chain 1, skip a stitch, then into the next stitch, which is our chain space, single crochet. Then at the end of this row, we should still have the same amount of stitches as our last row. Here's where the moss stitch can get a little tricky. We want to make sure that we're keeping track of the amount of stitches that we have. It kind of looks like we're at the end of the row because that last stitch is a single crochet. We want to make sure that we aren't skipping that first chain space that we made from our previous row. So chain 1, skip that single crochet and into that last chain space right there, insert with a single crochet. Missing it can actually throw off your count, so just give it a little bit of love, keep an eye out for it, and keep your number spot on. Look at us, we just completed 3 rows, which was our single crochet row and 2 moss stitch rows. Here's where that beautiful moss stitch texture really starts to form. Now we're going to dive into the next 3 rows for our 6-row repeat. The rhythm actually stays the same, but the twist is our single crochet row can start from the bottom like before, or from the top like we're about to do. But either way, you're building clean edges and consistent texture for this fun design, so let's get into it. Whenever starting a single crochet row along the top, since we want a smoother curve to the neckline, we're going to start with a chain 3, and that increase at the top of the row is just going to be 1 double crochet and 1 half double crochet. Then 1 single crochet into every stitch, leaving the last one. Our row 4 is almost complete. So for the increases along the bottom, since we're working our way out, we're going to do 2 half doubles, 2 double crochets, because we always want the taller stitches along the outer edge. Yarn over, into that last stitch, which is that chain space, 2 half doubles, into that same last stitch, 2 doubles. Now we are starting with a bold increase along the bottom. That's totally intentional. It really helps sculpt that dramatic curve that we're aiming for. But don't worry, things will mellow out once we reach the shoulders, giving it a really smooth and wearable shape. Our row 4 is now complete. Remember, each of these increase rows should have 4 more stitches than our previous row. The next 2 rows are moss stitch rows, the same as the ones that we just did. No increases, no decreases. Chain 2 and flip. Skip that first stitch, single crochet into the next, then chain 1, skip a stitch, single crochet to reach the end of the row. Row 5 all done. Now to do our row 6, which is the same as our row 5, chain 2. That's our turning chain. That's the first stitch of the next row. Flip. Skip that first stitch into the next, which is that chain space, because remember we're working into the moss stitch row. Single crochet, chain 1, skip a stitch, single crochet into the next till we reach the end of the row. First 6 rows all done. We're now repeating these 6 previous rows until we have a portion that can reach from center chest out till the side of the base of our neck. Then we'll all meet back after a second moss stitch row that ends along the top, so where the tail end is. Now if you have any questions on how to do any of these rows, the link for this section will be in the description, or feel free to leave a comment, or just leave a comment and say hi, that's cool too. And this completes our neckline. I have a total of 15 rows. This width is just about 3.5 inches or 9 centimeters. My increase height is 14 inches or 36 centimeters. Now go ahead and lay your panel down flat. You see how the bottom edge is starting to curve and sweep? That's the curve that we're sculpting. Now, onto the shoulders. This next section is where the asymmetry really starts to shine. This section is going to add a tailored edge that connects smoothly to the back panel. And also, it's going to build a comfy structure that makes the whole top feel cohesive. These are the details that really make people say, wait, you made that? So let's dive in. We're going to make an even number chain that reaches the top of our shoulder. This tail end still stays 1 inch beneath the base of our neck at center chest. I went ahead and measured mine out already. I need just about 2.5 inches or 6 centimeters, so I'm going to start by making a chain 10. Then the next row in our row sequence, which is a single crochet row. We're going to chain 1. That's our turning chain. Then 1 single crochet into every chain. Working down the chain, it can twist. It makes it look like you have no stitches to work into, but if that is the case, just twist your chain to find the tops of the stitches from the last row and then just continue stitching all the way down until we have 1 stitch left, because remember, increases. We made our way down with our singles, leaving that last stitch. Now an increase. This increase is going to be done a hair different than the increases that we did for the neckline because we want it to kind of start to smooth out just a little bit more. So into that last stitch, we're going to do 2 half doubles and just 1 double crochet all into that last stitch. Making sure we're working into that last chain space, because remember each of these rows needs to end on an even number. 2 half doubles and into that same last stitch, 1 double crochet. First shoulder row, done. Next 2 rows, same as the other moss stitch rows. Chain 2, flip our work, skip that first stitch, single crochet into the next to reach the end of the row. Then the next row, chain 2, flip, moss all the way down. Single crochet, 2 moss stitch rows down for the shoulder. Now we're going to do the next single crochet row together. Sometimes we start along the top, sometimes we start along the bottom. So when we're starting along the bottom, chain 3 and flip because we're starting with an increase. The increase for the shoulder part is just going to be 1 double, 2 half doubles all into that first stitch. So yarn over into that first stitch with 1 double. Same first stitch with 2 half doubles. Then for the rest of the row, 1 single crochet into every stitch. At the end of this row, we should have 2 more stitches than our previous row, still ending on an even number. Single crochet row complete. The next 2 rows, the same moss stitch rows we've been doing. Get those 2 rows complete, then I'll meet you back. First 6 shoulder rows are completed. There is 1, 2, 3, 4, that single crochet row, 5, and 6. Repeat these 6 previous rows from the base of our neck until our 1 inch before the tip of our shoulder, keeping those edge increases consistent. Then we'll all meet back right after a second moss stitch row that ends along the bottom. Alright, Editor T here, we just want to make sure before we move on to the underarm that we are inserting a stitch marker into the bottom of that last shoulder row, just so we know where the neckline and the shoulder ends. We have just hit our ideal length and the shape for the front panel. I have a total of 24 rows. My width is now 5.5 inches or 14 centimeters, or my total height is just about 18 inches or 46 centimeters. From here, it is all about maintaining that flow and prepping for that band later to come. Now we're just shaping the underarm to complete the front panel. It's clean, it's comfy, and flattering, and we are so close to the next big milestone, which is the back panel. Start by putting this up to ourselves, having the top of our shoulder at the top of our shoulder. We are going to insert our stitch marker into any even numbered stitch from the top that's nearest to the corner of our underarm. I went ahead and inserted mine into the 28th stitch from the top. That's just about 6.5 inches or 17 centimeters. And since we aren't increasing anymore, we're just going to single crochet all the way up. Chain 1, flip our work, and put 1 single crochet into every stitch, leaving 3 stitches right before our stitch marker. First single crochet underarm row is underway. We should all have 1, 2, 3 stitches before our stitch marker. Now a decrease of 3 double crochets. Yarn over into that next stitch, pull through, next stitch, pull through, and next stitch, which is the stitch before our stitch marker, pull through for 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 loops on our hook. Yarn over, pull through the first 4, leaving 2, yarn over, pull through 2. Now shaping underarms is really what makes the difference in handcrafted tops just like this one. Now double check, count this row, should end on an even number. Following 2 rows are the same as the other moss stitch rows. So 2 moss stitch rows, no increases, no decreases, then I'll meet you back. Our first 3 underarm rows are complete. Now after these 3 rows, I'm actually done, but it is still technically a 6-row repeat if you need to add more rows. So I'm just going to do the following single crochet row with you, because this one starts along the top instead of the bottom like our other single crochet row. So when we're starting along the top, chain 3 and flip. And simply start the row with a decrease of 3 double crochets. Then complete the row with 1 single crochet into the rest of our stitches. Then the 2 rows after that are going to be 2 moss stitch rows, no increases, no decreases. And we're going to continue to repeat those 6 previous rows until we now have a front panel that can reach from center chest over to mid underarm. Now again, if you're like me and it reaches mid underarm after these 3 rows, feel free. We just want to make sure that we're all completing right after a second moss stitch row that ends along the top. That tip is actually going to help us for the back panel, but we'll get to that in just the next clip. Then when we have that completed, do a chain up 1 and cut. I did cut my underarm. My total amount of rows now is 27. My total width is just about 6.5 inches or 17 centimeters, and this is the kind of top that'll spark compliments and conversation. When we have one front panel completed, make a second that is exactly the same. We have just shaped the front panels with care. Now the back panel begins with a mirrored underarm to match. This part keeps the fit looking polished. We've already got the skills to nail it. Let's dive in. My back panel's done. So to do a small sample size with you, we're going to start by making a chain for the same amount of stitches that we have for our last underarm row for the front panel. So for my back, I made a chain of 48. Now mirroring the front panel, we're going to start with a moss stitch row. Once we have our chain, we're going to block off that last chain and do a chain 2. Just like starting our other moss stitch rows, that first chain is our turning chain, second counts as a stitch for the first row. Then we're going to single crochet into the 4th chain from our hook. Here's 1, 2, 3 is the one we blocked off, and 4. Into that 4th chain, insert with 1 single crochet. That is going to give us the first 2 stitches for this row, which is that chain space. Remember, it does collapse in, so it could easily be overlooked. Make sure we're counting it. And that single crochet. So 2 chains so far. Moss stitch stays the same though. Chain 1, skip a stitch, single crochet into the next to reach the end of the row. Row 1, complete. Row 2, same. Another moss stitch row, so chain 2, flip, skip that first stitch into the next with a single crochet, chain 1, skip a stitch, single to reach the end of the row, and we should still have same amount of stitches as chains made. First 2 rows, all done. Next row is a single crochet row that ends with an increase. Chain 1, flip, 1 single crochet into every stitch, leaving that last one. Our row 3 is nearly complete. We've singled all the way down, leaving that last stitch. Remember, it is that chain space, so make sure you're counting it. And into that last one, we're going to increase with 2 half doubles. Same last stitch with a double. This increase row should give us 2 more stitches than our previous rows. For my front panel, I only did 3 rows, so technically I would be done. But in case you did more than just 3 rows, we're going to do the next single crochet row together as well. So get the following 2 moss stitch rows completed, no increases, no decreases. Then we're going to do an increasing single crochet row together just once more. So far for the back panel, 5 rows done. Just to do the next row, if you guys need it, start with a chain 3, flip. Since we're along the top, our increases are going to be 1 double, 2 half double, all into that same first stitch, then 1 single into the rest. Look at how cute this underarm is. Okay, continue to repeat our 6 previous rows for the same amount of underarm rows that we have. Like I said, I just did 3 rows. So just to show you guys, I'm going to take mine down to 3 rows to match my front panel. The underarm just gave us our shape. Now the width of our back panel is going to bring us balance, tying the whole piece together. This part is such a nice and steady rhythm, great for settling in and enjoying the process. We're going to recap the next 3 rows we're going to do, then finish up the back panel and on to the design details. We're all going to make a chain for the same amount of stitches that we skipped when we got started on our front panel's underarm. For those of you that have my numbers, I skipped 28 stitches, so for my back panel, I made a chain 28. For my sample size, I'm going to do a baby chain. The first row is going to be the next row in our row sequence, which is going to be a moss stitch row for everyone. So block off that last chain and chain 2. First chain, turning chain, second chain, first stitch for the next row. Then single crochet into the 4th chain from our hook again. 1, 2, 3, 4. Insert with just 1 single crochet. Again, that gives us our first stitch and second stitch for the row. Continue to chain 1, skip a stitch, single crochet into the next till the end of the row. First back panel with row, done. Now the second row is going to be a moss stitch row. So just like the other ones, chain 2, flip, moss stitch all the way back. Second moss stitch row, done. Next row is a single crochet row. No increases, no decreases, so chain 1, flip, 1 single into every stitch. Now we've used this sample, so 1 single, 2 moss stitch combo, plenty of times in a sweater, cardigan, and even pants actually, and it never disappoints. It's textured fancy enough, but simple enough to keep things chill. First 3 back panel rows completed. Now repeat these 3 previous rows until our back panel can reach from 1 inch before the tip of our shoulder, across our back, to our 1 inch before the tip of our other shoulder. We'll all meet back right after a second moss stitch row that ends along the bottom. Now a quick tip for the back panel. Don't worry if your finished back panel isn't as wide as both of your front panels combined. The front panels are often wider to allow room for the chest. What matters most is that our back panel width has more rows than the combined front panel shoulder sections, just because we want to leave a little bit of space for the neckline. Now my back panel is completed in its entirety. From my first underarm row to my last width row, I have 38 rows. That width is 10 inches or 25 centimeters. Next is that second underarm, and the good news, it is done exactly the same way as the front. So you've already got this down. It's easy, it's clean, and it's key to keeping the fit consistent. Go ahead and knock this out, then we're one step closer to those design details. Back panels, front panels. We've shaped it, tailored it, now it's time to assemble it. The seaming goes a lot faster than you think, then it's finally time to try it on. Lay your front panel on top of your back panel, making sure the neckline is at the center. Insert your hook into the top corner stitch of both the front and the back. We're going to pull that working yarn through and do a chain 1. 1 single crochet is going to be worked in through every side row, working in through both panels at the same time. Finding our first side row within the front panel, find that top loop within the front. Same first side row within the back panel, find that top loop. And we're going to single crochet, and since I don't like to even ends, I'm going to place my tail end over my hook and just single crochet around everything. Now our tail end is in between our single crochet, so we don't have to weave it in later. Again, next side row into the front panel, insert. Next side row into the back panel, insert, place the tail end over our hook, and single. Continue until we don't have any more side rows left into the front panel. After that, cut, then repeat on the other side. Shoulder seams checked. Now to seam our sides. Our work is still flipped wrong side out, meaning the seams for the shoulders still along the outside because we want all of our seams to be along the same side. Insert your hook into the bottom corner stitch of both the front and the back. Then same single crochet seam, but even better because we have actual stitches to work into. So finding that first stitch into the front panel, insert, first stitch into the back, insert, tail end, and single crochet. Again, next stitch into the front, next stitch into the back, single. Continue this until we don't have any more stitches left. Then repeat on the other side. Everything is all seamed up. We've built the shape. Now we're going to add the charm, which is the herringbone bottom band. It's textured, it's elegant, and it's a lot easier than it looks. If you've never tried the herringbone, you're about to fall in love. It's a variation of the double crochet, and we are with you every step of the way. This bottom band gives your top that polished professional edge, so let's create it. 1. Make sure our work flipped right side out, so all of our seams along the inside. Then insert your hook into the bottom corner stitch of one of our front panels. And we're going to single crochet all along the bottom first. From the front panel's corner to our stitch marker, we're going to put 2 single crochets in through every side single crochet row because those are the rows that we increased, and just 1 single crochet in through every side moss stitch row. Chain 1 to secure. Our first side row is a side single crochet row. Find that top loop and insert with 2 single crochets. There's 1 into that same top loop with a second single crochet if I can find the loop. Perfect. Our next 2 rows are side moss stitch rows for everyone. So just find that next top loop, insert with 1, next side moss stitch row, find that top loop and insert with just 1 again. Continue doing this until we're worked into our stitch marker side row. First little bit of singles done. Next little bit of singles will be done. It's super easy. From this stitch marker all the way across to our next stitch marker, just 1 single crochet in through every side row. Then from stitch marker to corner, again, 2 single crochet in through every side single, 1 single crochet in through every side moss. I'll meet you back at this corner. 1 single crochet. We just wrapped up our single crochet row. If we did our math right, our single crochets are going to end on an odd number. Because this bottom band is going to be 2 herringbone, 2 moss, 2 herringbone, we need it to end on an even number. So simply take away that last stitch, and we should all have an even number of stitches. Now for the herringbone double crochet. That's just one of the details that makes this top so special. It's really similar to the double crochet with just an extra pass through, creating that gorgeous diagonal slant. It's easy and it looks satisfying to make. Ready? Chain 2 and flip. Because our front panels come up to a point at the center, we're going to start and end the row with a decrease. That is a decrease of herringbone double crochets, so let's do that together. Our decrease herringbone is yarn over. Into that first stitch, pull through. Into that next stitch, also pull through for 1, 2, 3, 4 loops on our hook. We're going to pull that first loop underneath that second and that third loop. So use your hook, and we're going to pull it underneath that next loop and the loop right after that to get 2 loops on our hook. Then yarn over, pull through 1, yarn over, pull through 2. Now you can start to see a slight slant. Now our regular herringbone double, similar idea, so yarn over. Into that next stitch, insert, pull through for 3 loops on our hook. Pull that first loop underneath that second loop to end up with 2 loops on our hook. Yarn over, pull through just the first loop, yarn over, pull through the last 2 loops. Once more, yarn over, next stitch, pull through, pull that first loop underneath that second loop. Yarn over, pull through 1, yarn over, pull through 2. Continue with our herringbone double crochet until we have 2 stitches left so we can decrease again. And if you love learning new stitches and shaping just as much as I do, be sure to stick around and subscribe. We share cozy creative tutorials twice a week, every Sunday and Wednesday. We had just herringboned all the way around. Now we have 2 stitches left. We're going to decrease again, just like how we started. Yarn over, second to last, pull through. Last, pull through for 4 loops on our hook. Pull that first loop underneath the second and third loop to get 2 loops on our hook. Yarn over, pull through 1, yarn over, pull through 2. First herringbone stitch row done, edges are nice and straight. Now another one. Chain 2, flip, decrease herringbone, herringbone, decrease 2 herringbone. I'll meet you back at the end of the next row. Second herringbone row done. You can start to see that texture coming to life now, and that is exactly what we want. Now 2 moss stitch rows. We know how to do those, but as a refresher, we're going to chain 2 and flip. Remember, first chain is the turning chain, second chain is the first stitch for our next row. Skip that first stitch and into the next with a single, chain 1, skip a stitch, single crochet into the next. We're going to do our normal moss stitch all the way down. Then at the end of the row, do 1 more moss stitch row, then I'll meet you back. Our 2 moss stitch rows are done. Now 2 more herringbone stitch rows exactly the same way that we did these. So decrease, herringbone, decrease, then a second one. Then I'll meet you guys back. Bottom band all done. As a refresher, we have our single crochet row that helps clear up the base. We have 2 herringbone stitch rows, 2 moss, 2 more herringbone stitch rows. That is just about 2 inches or 5 centimeters. Now my total height, so from the top of the shoulder down to the bottom, just about 19 inches or 48 centimeters. Now onward to our button plackets. This is going to be our top's power move. It frames the front, holds the buttons, and makes the whole piece feel complete. We're going to start with the solid side first. That's going to be the side that holds the actual buttons. So our work is still flipped right side out, right side up. We're going to flip our work over so that the neckline is nearest to us. We're then going to insert our hook into the top corner stitch of our left front panel. We're doing this because we want our buttons to be held on the left side. Insert your yarn onto your hook. Put 1 single crochet in through every stitch. When we reach our side rows, I'll meet you back so you can work into those. We've single crochet down our front panel. Now at the bottom band, we're going to put 1 single crochet into that one side single crochet row. Then 1 single crochet into the next side herringbone stitch row. And 2 into the next. Up next, 2 moss stitch rows, so 1 single crochet into each of those side rows. Then again at the side herringbone stitch rows, 1 single crochet into the first, 2 into the next. This is the side that's going to hold our buttons, so just chain 1, flip our work, and single all the way back down. Now for the width, continue with single crochet rows for the same width as the button that you're using. End on an odd number row, and I'll meet you back. My placket is complete. I did 3 rows. This is just about 1 inch or 2 centimeters. Now the secret to professional looking buttons, perfect spacing. At this point, we're now going to use stitch markers to map out exactly where our buttons are going to go right before we attach them. This is going to eliminate any guesswork and ensure our buttonholes on the other side line up perfectly. I'm working with 15mm buttons. We're all going to place our stitch markers into our one middle row that we have since we did an odd number of rows. So for me, that's row 2. So step number 1, we're going to place our first stitch marker at the top edge where we want our first button to be. Step 2, place our last stitch marker at the bottom edge where we want our final button to be. Then for the middle, we're just going to space the remaining stitch markers evenly between the top and the bottom. Now for mine, I place my stitch marker into every 9th stitch in between. That's just about 2 inches or 5 centimeters. And just make sure we're placing our stitch markers into the whole bodies of actual stitches. This will help us know exactly where the buttonholes will go. We want to make sure that we're jotting down those stitch markers too. It makes it a whole lot easier, I promise. And remember, your button width matters. My 15mm button spans roughly 2 stitches, so I marked off 2 stitches for mine. When your stitch markers are into place, we can sew them in using any technique. Now, I actually feel most comfortable using a hook, so I used a 1.25mm hook, some black thread, and just kind of went for it. I did make sure I was working into the stitches that we had previously marked off. Once when I had just a few passes, I also wrapped the thread around the base of the button just for a little bit of height. Tied it off, then repeated that for all of them. Buttons are all sewn in. Now we're going to do the buttonhole side. This side is just single crochets and chains, so our work is still flipped right side out, right side up. Insert our hook into the bottom right corner stitch of our front panel that's opposite of our buttons. We're going to single crochet up the same way that we did the first single crochet row for the other side. We're going to do our single crochet rows, then we meet back. We're about to do the middle row so that we can add our buttonholes. I did a total of 3 rows on the other side, so I will meet you back when I'm about to get started on my row 2. My single crochet row is done. I'm about to do my middle row. This middle row is going to have our buttonholes. Chain 1, flip our work, and we're just going to single crochet down until we're ready to do our buttonholes. So this top one is in my 3rd and 4th stitch. So I'm going to flip my work and then single crochet until I reach my 3rd and 4th stitch. So that's fairly simple. That's just my first 2 stitches. There's 1 and then there's 2. I'm going to chain 2 because that's roughly the same width that I have for my 15mm buttons. However many chains we make, we're going to skip that amount of stitches and single crochet into the next to kind of anchor it down. So since I chained 2, I'm going to skip 1, skip 2, into the next, single crochet. Then once we're here, if you want to just see if your button can slide through, now is the perfect time. And since mine can fit through nicely, I'm just going to continue on with this row, making sure that I'm placing my buttonholes where my buttons are on the other side. Buttonholes done. Now we're going to single crochet until we have the same amount of rows as the other side. When we have that same number cut, then I'll meet you back so we can look at our cute little buttons. Amazing work! Our buttons are looking so professional. I'm pausing because I'm excited. Now for the finishing touch, our classic collar. This is honestly one of my favorite parts because it completely transformed the whole vibe. We're going to start with a single crochet row just to help anchor everything down. So work right side out, right side up. Hook, insert it in through the first side row within the front panel, not into the top of the placket because we're keeping that available just for the buttons. So finding this first side single crochet row for the front panel, probably where our tail end's still hanging out, insert your hook in through there. 2 single crochets in through each of those side single crochet rows, 1 single crochet in through every side moss, up the shoulder, 1 single crochet in through every stitch, also 1 single crochet in through every side row. Make your way down until we reach our last side row for the front panel. Remember, we aren't working into the top of the plackets. Almost took an eye out there. Singles, done. Now for the length of the collar. Make a chain for the length that we'd like for the collar to be. I'd like for mine to be just about 2 inches or 5 centimeters, so I'm going to start by making chain 9. Chain completed. Now half double crochet back. Block off that last chain and chain 2. That's our turning chain. That doesn't actually count as a stitch. Now into that chain that we blocked off, or the third chain from our hook, half double crochet back into every chain. Row 1 complete. Now we're going to connect it into the base, which is that single crochet row that we just did. So into that next available stitch into the base, insert in through there with a slip stitch. That slip stitch into the base doesn't count as a stitch, that's just to connect. Then to work our way up to the following row, so basically a turning chain, we are going to slip stitch up that following stitch into the base. Still doesn't count as a stitch, flip our work, and 1 half double into every stitch all the way down. Yarn over, into the last stitch from our previous row, not working into any of those slip stitches. Insert with a half double. Continue with 1 half double into every stitch. Super simple. At the end of the row, chain 2, flip our work, 1 half into every stitch again, then we'll meet back just once more at the end of our row 3 to connect. Rows 1, 2, 3, done. Connecting it into the base together once more, find that next stitch into the base, insert with a slip stitch that basically just anchors that odd number row down. Then, working our way up to the following row, slip stitch up that next stitch, flip our work, and 1 half into every stitch again. Repeat these 2 rows all the way down until we're worked into our last single crochet, then cut. Collar, all fixed up. The last thing we have to do before we get to wear it out and show it off is weave in all of our ends. And there you have it. Hope y'all enjoyed the tutorial. Enter this week's pattern giveaway by telling us your favorite pizza topping. As long as I have olives, I am golden. Join us on Instagram, Pinterest, or X. Those links are down below. Don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Catch y'all in the next one. Bye!